Hi guys, I'm going to do a quick review of the PAul Reed Smith Archon versus the EVH 5153. I'm using the same identical cabinets. I'm using the Marshall hand-wired 2061s, which have heritages in them. I'm using a PAul Reed Smith Mira only because it's a very neutral sounding guitar and it seemed to really like both amps, so I thought let's do it as friendly as possible. Only effect I'm using is reverb, only on the cleans on both these amps, so I'll do a quick A-B comparison. I'm going to start with the Archon. So here's the Archon first. Okay, now here's your Eddie Van Halen 5153 in clean. Ready? Okay, so I think the Archon sounds a little fuller in my ears, in person at least, and the EVH Fender version 5153 sounds very Fendery. So now I'll just do some picking through some actual notes. Here's the EVH with clean notes. Okay, here's the Archon now with clean notes. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll go to the Archon. I'm going to switch over to the gain channel, and I'm going to use gain at halfway. Since the EVH has 3 channels, what I'll do is I'll do Archon halfway gain, no effects, no anything added, and then I'll do the EVH 5150 second channel, the mid gain, and then I'll crank the Archon's gain, and then I'll go to the high gain channel. So let's go ahead, and here's your Archon mid-level gain. In other words, gain at 12 o'clock. Okay, and here's your chord. Alright, now here's your EVH 5153 second channel, which is the medium gain channel, which is comparable to the Archon. Let's hear how that sounds. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the EVH 5153 high gain channel. Now, only thing to note is it's not a noisy amp, but it is noisier than the Archon. So just something to keep in retrospect. Okay, ready? So okay, so now I got the Archon PAul Reed Smith amp pegged out for gain. So let's hear that. Ready? So let's go ahead and let's compare one last thing. Okay, so reference points. You know, both amps, when the gains are cranked on the third channel on this and on this amp, they have that high gain noise. However, the Archon you don't really, for some reason, want that much gain. So if you run the gain about here, see how much quieter that is? And it's a little drier, but it's actually... Okay, so now, since that's the sweet spot, I'm going to go to the last test I'm going to do is the sweet spot Archon versus the EVH. So I'm going to do a lead on the neck pickup. Here's the Archon. Ready? Okay, so now this is the sweet spot on the EVH 53. What I mean by sweet spot is this is the second channel with the gain just set where I like my solo tone at. So now both amps were comparatively to solo tones. So here you go. Of those two. Whoops. Alright, so let me give you a fast run through of pros and cons. Ready? Pros and cons. The pro on the EVH is it's lighter than the Archon. Okay? It feels substantially lighter, maybe about 10 or 15 pounds lighter. I don't know, I didn't weigh it, but I'm just telling you what it feels like. Smaller. It is smaller. It looks a lot smaller. It's not. It's probably about 1 inch smaller width-wise. Depth is actually deeper. This is actually an inch deeper than the Archon. And height-wise, you have about a ½ inch to an inch height on the Archon. So overall, they're not a huge difference in size. They are slight, but given the fact, especially given the fact that this is 100 watts. And something to mention too, the entire video I was running the Archon in 50 watt mode, just to keep things kind of fair. Alright, so points of interest. Made in the USA, hand wired. Made in Mexico. It's a PC board stuff. Both have really good transformers and use good tubes. This comes with a foot switch, so does this. This is $900, and this is $1,500 to $1,600. I think it's like 16. So 16 to 9. So obviously a big difference in price there. Both come with foot switches. The EVH comes with 3 channels. However, the first channel has to stack on the second channel, and you're probably going to read tons of reviews about the frustration of that. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in an amp company ever made. I hate to say it. I don't know why the EVH guys did that. I'd have fired the guy that made it, to be honest with you, because I don't know why they're not just stacking the 2 gain channels. Everybody that has one loves it, but we force ourselves through this one feature of frustration. It's like putting the spare tire in the passenger seat of a car. It's just a really weird thing to do. But the amp is so amazing, the guy who designed it, he gets to keep his job, because in spite of that dumb feature, we all buy one. So, what else? Both have presence controls. Like I said, very, very straightforward. Looks-wise, obviously, both are kind of cool looking for sure. The EVH comes in black and the white, or the ivory. That's about it. I know that this is, for some reason, PRS's market is touching into this. The last thing I will say this. It's hard to tell in the video what it sounds like, I'm sure. But I will tell you this, since I own both and I own a couple other amps. This, to me, is more modern. You know what I mean? This is definitely the Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine, Avenged Sevenfold sound. This is definitely the Alter Bridge, Shinedown, Raw, Alice in Chains, Slash from Guns N' Roses. Because this is definitely has, considering the EVH sound is really a Marshall tone, right? This is definitely very Soldano heavy sounding with a better clean channel. This is a Marshall on steroids with a Dumble-like clean channel, if I can even say that, because I've never played a $30,000 to $70,000 Dumble, but definitely has this big clean channel. So if I could keep one, which I'm going to keep both, so it doesn't matter, but if I keep one, I'd keep this one. In fact, if I get rid of all my amps tomorrow and kept one, this is what I would do. Not because it's the best, it's just the most versatile. Last thing I didn't do, the only thing I'm not going to do comparison to, so you know, is pedals, but without a doubt, this likes pedals, this loves pedals. So fuzz pedals, all those stuff, the Archon seems to react better to them, more like the Marshall would or a Fender amp would. So, alright guys, thanks for your time. Know your gear.